needs salt. You want to buy some pasta? I got cooked, I got uncooked. You know what? I just might. Hello everyone and welcome to Cooking Corner with me, Giuseppe CrimiVaroli. Spring has sprung, folks, and that means it's time for my famous springtime chicken pasta. Now, in terms of ingredients, you're gonna need the following. You're gonna need some olive oil. You're gonna need some minced garlic. You're gonna need some butter. You're gonna need some chicken broth. You're gonna need some angel hair pasta. You're gonna need some chicken. You're gonna need red pepper flakes and parsley. You're gonna need grape tomatoes. You're gonna need salt and pepper. And you're gonna need some baby spinach. Now, in terms of hardware, you're gonna need the following. You're gonna need a large pot for your pasta. You're gonna need a strainer, also for your pasta. You're gonna need a frying pan or skillet of some kind for your chicken. You're gonna need various measuring cups of all different sizes, as well as measuring spoons. You're gonna need some tongs. You're gonna need a large knife and a cutting board to cut up your chicken. As always, folks, step number one is gonna be wash your hands. Go ahead, turn your water on, stick your mitts underneath and get it nice and moist. Once you're convinced your fingers have been sufficiently lubricated, go ahead and grab your soap and apply it to your hands. 2 squirts is my preference. Rub that soap all over your hands, back of the knuckles, in between the fingers. And once your hands are nice and soapy, stick them back under the water. Wash all that soap off. When you're convinced your hands are clean, you can turn the water off. And now we're going to bring in a huge fan of Cooking Corner to dry my hands. And just like that, we're ready to cook. Moving on to step number 2. And step number 2 is going to be start cooking your pasta. Now, if you can, I would put your pot of water up on a back burner because you're going to need a front burner for the rest of the recipe. So, take your pot of water, add a little bit of salt, turn the burner on, put the lid back on, and wait for the water to boil. While we're waiting for the water to boil, we can move on to step number 3. And step number 3 is going to be cut and cook your chicken. Now, what you're going to need is 1.5 pounds of chicken after you've cut it up and taken all the fat off. So, what I have here on this cutting board is a little more than 1.5 pounds, and I'm going to trim it up, cut it up, and throw it in a bowl to go into a pan. Now, if you just buy whole, boneless, skinless chicken breasts, there's going to be some fat on them. You're just going to need to trim that off and then cut up your chicken. So, anytime you see white on the side of your chicken like this, you just slice that off and throw it out. Once you trim most of the fat off your chicken, you can get to actually cutting it up for the recipe. So, what I recommend is to get a piece of chicken, like this, lay it flat on the cutting board, put your hand on top of it, and cut it hamburger style, so that you effectively split one chicken breast into 2 chicken breasts. Once you've sliced your chicken thin hamburger style, it's time to start cutting it into strips. So So go ahead and just start cutting it up the side. Alright, so you may notice that your water is boiling before you're ready for it. Now, since angel hair cooks so quickly, what we're just going to do is turn the water down to a simmer until we need it to boil again. Moving right along with step number 3, we're going to be cooking our chicken in the pan. So go ahead and add 1 teaspoon of olive oil. And turn the heat on. Once that olive oil gets hot, we're going to add a chicken, a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, and a teaspoon of minced garlic. Now that our oil is hot, we're going to add our 1.5 pounds of chicken, a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, and a teaspoon of minced garlic. Then you can mix that around in your pan. Once your chicken is cooked all the way through, you're going to add 3/4 cup of reduced sodium chicken broth and just a pinch each of salt and pepper. Then just stir it around. Once your broth begins to simmer, you can take it off of the heat and add 2 tablespoons of parsley, and 2 tablespoons of butter. Then you just mix it up and let it sit until the butter is melted. Now, while your butter is melting and your water is simmering, you can prep your last 2 ingredients, which are going to be your tomatoes and your spinach. Now, it's pretty easy with the spinach. You just need 4 cups of baby spinach. For the tomatoes, you got to cut them in half. You need 1.5 cups of halved grape tomatoes. So go ahead and cut all these tomatoes in half and then measure it up to 1.5 cups. Now that you've got your halved grape tomatoes measured out to 1.5 cups, and you've got your spinach ready to be measured out to 4 cups, you can turn your water back up so that it comes to a roaring boil. Alright, now that your water is at a roaring boil, you can take the top off and add your pasta. Alright, now that your pasta is done cooking, it's time to get her off the heat and strain it. So go ahead, turn your stove off. Grab your pot, safely of course. Bring it over to the sink and strain your pasta. Once your pasta is strained, you can re-add it to your pot. Now, while your pasta is still hot, you can add your 1.5 cup of halved grape tomatoes, your 4 cups of baby spinach, tablespoon of olive oil. Then mix that around. Now that you have both your chicken mixture and your pasta mixture, it's time to combine both of them together and make one complete dish. Now just take your chicken with your broth and your parsley and add it to your pasta mixture. And then, for presentation's sake, you can put it back in the smaller container. Doesn't that look delicious? Now let's move on to the final step, which is going to be plating. You've got your delicious pasta dinner in your pan. It's time to add it to a plate and enjoy it. Go ahead, grab your tongs, scoop up a big heaping serving of that pasta. Make sure you get the chicken, the spinach, and the tomatoes in there. And then you're ready to enjoy. Now it's time for the taste test. That is delicious! That concludes this week's episode of Cooking Corner with me, Giuseppe CrimiVaroli. If you like this video, leave a like below and show it to a friend. If there's something you want to see on the channel, leave it in the comments below. And if you like more videos like this, subscribe to my channel. I'm putting out new content all the time. Bye-bye now.